Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are going to learn all about deadlifting. So this is a deadlifting 101. I wanted to do this video for my clients who might need the extra help as well. I think it'll be a good thing to send them when it does come time for them to start deadlifting and stuff, when clients reach certain stages. And for anybody else who wants to learn how to deadlift. Deadlifting may seem like a simple movement, just a hip hinge movement, but it's actually very technical, and if not done right, you can injure yourself pretty easily. So we're gonna go all through it today. I have a bunch to talk about, so let's get started. And before we do, make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss a video. I'm gonna try to do an exercise a month and really go in depth on how to do it properly. So we will first talk about how to actually do a deadlift. I have some cues and guidelines to go over, and I'll put up a little infographic that I made for Instagram while we're talking. Follow along on that. For your foot stance and stance, you can do a narrow, medium, or wide stance. Conventional for me is probably more of like a medium, whereas stiff-legged deadlifts I do more of a narrow, and then you have your wide stance like sumo deadlifts. Foot stance can be, there's no right or wrong, it's whatever works for you, whatever you prefer, whatever feels good to you. Your grip can be either both overhand or one over, one under. I find that I do one over, one under when I'm going heavier, and then when I do lighter, it's just easier to hold the bar both overhand. So I do a little mixture of both. So with the bar, how to set up, you're gonna wanna make sure that it's aligned over the middle of your feet. Keep the bar within an inch of your leg throughout your whole movement. And then your arms with the deadlift should be kind of relaxed and straight. You shouldn't be pulling with your arms. You're pulling with your legs, your hamstrings, and your glutes. So your arms should just be there holding the bar. Then you are going to brace your spine by pulling up on the bar, keeping tension in your posterior chain. Your hips should be like sandwiched in between your knees and shoulders. When you pull the bar up, you're gonna squeeze the glutes at the top of the movement, but you wanna make sure that you're not overextending, like you're pulling back more. So you're gonna squeeze the glutes at the top of the movement to get a little glute action in there. And then you're gonna lower the bar by sitting back. Think of it as like you're sitting in a chair or on the toilet or something, keeping your shins vertical. That is how you do a deadlift. So why should you perform a deadlift? Deadlifts are a great exercise to measure your strength, but if you're not aiming for strength goals, I think it's the second best exercise for building your glutes and your physique. Deadlifts are really going to target your glutes and your hamstrings, and if you are going for the more physique goals and like building the glutes, you don't have to max out every time. You can do lower weights and go to failure a couple times every other week or something and really push yourself that way. And when you do it that way, you do have less risk of injury. When you are going heavier, you're gonna have more risk for injury and just like tweaking things and hurting your back, your lower back, your neck, your shoulders. I mean, I've done it all. Okay, let's talk about deadlift variations. There are a ton of ways to do deadlifts. You can do them with the barbell, you can do them without a barbell. So many ways. When COVID first locked down the gyms last year, Matt and I did them with a single cinder block. So all the different ways, I'm gonna go over a couple of my favorite variations that I use a lot in my workout routine and that I assign to my clients. First off, deadlifts vary by grip, depth, equipment, how bent your knees are. All variations of deadlift should include a torso lean and a slight knee bend. The first variation I'm going to go over is the Romanian deadlift. So the Romanian deadlift is what I assign to beginners once they get their hip hinge movement down. You're gonna do the Romanian deadlift with a lighter weight. You're gonna go slightly past your knees, then you're gonna come up. So it's basically you're focusing on lowering the bar with weight. And it is also really great to help improve your hamstring flexibility if you struggle with that flexibility. So that's what I assign to beginners, and I kind of get them just used to lowering the bar with weight on it. But you aren't going to go heavy with a Romanian deadlift. The next variation that I like to do is obviously the conventional deadlift. It's probably I think conventional and sumo, I would say, is the ones that I see done a lot in the gym. So the conventional deadlift is probably more of a medium stance deadlift. It is also known as the ultimate test of strength. That being said, it's easy to push yourself too hard and injure yourself. But the conventional deadlift, research shows, works more muscles in the body than even the squat. With the conventional deadlift, I assign different rep ranges, weights. I do a healthy mix of all of it. And then, like I said before, you can absolutely build your glutes by doing a lower weight, higher rep range if you prefer that. The next variation is the sumo variation. It is a wide stance variation, and your torso is going to be more upright in this exercise. And it's really going to depend on your hip anatomy too. Like, it kind of hurts me to do the sumo deadlift just because it hurts my hip. It hurts my right hip for some reason, and it just doesn't feel good. I still try them out every once in a while, but I really stick to a conventional deadlift. But I know a lot of people love the sumo deadlift, so try it out and see if you like it, and if it's for you, then it's a great one to do. Okay, and then next, I assign this one a lot, is the stiff-legged deadlift. So it's kind of going to be, it is going to be your progression from the Romanian deadlift, whereas it's stiff-legged, your knees are going to be slightly bent, but you're going to go stretch down further than you would the Romanian deadlift. This one you will need more of a hamstring flexibility, which again is one of the things that I struggle with. So really focus on stretching your hamstrings and getting lower than you would the Romanian deadlift. I do a narrow stance on this one. You're gonna want to do a narrow stance on this one and then really stretch all the way down. Whereas the Romanian deadlift, you're just going kind of right past the knees. I like this one. Again, I do lighter weights with this one. I don't ever go heavy just because you're kind of in a compromised position. There are obviously a lot more variations than that. Like I said, just Google them, find anything. You don't necessarily need a gym. You could do it with a bag of groceries. This is how I would have my clients progress through their deadlifts, is I would start them off with doing just a simple hip hinge and getting that down. No weight, just go up against the wall, kind of put your butt towards the wall, and it should touch like when you reach down, and you're just gonna do that hip hinge movement like so. And then try to go as deep as your flexibility will allow. Once you get that down, once my clients get that down, I don't like put this in their exercise regimen, but you're welcome to use it as like a hamstring warm-up if you wanted to, or just working on that flexibility without any weight. I'd start there if they've never done a deadlift ever. And then we would move to the Romanian deadlift. It's the one where we practice lowering the weight. We're going right past the knees, not much lower than that. And that's also going to improve your hamstring flexibility with a little bit of weight, and just focus on lowering the weight. Then I would teach a conventional deadlift, then the sumo, and then probably stiff-legged. Stiff-legged just because you need a lot of flexibility, and if you've never worked out before, you're a newbie, most of the time that flexibility isn't going to be there. Most of the time, not all the time, not for everybody. So that is how I would progress one of my clients. And then we would test others, but you just try them out, look them up, like try a lot of them out, and then pick the ones that work for you. Pick the ones that you actually enjoy doing. Pick the ones that don't feel bad when you're doing them. Like sumos for me, I don't do them very often. So you just kind of got to play around, and you can throw in a healthy mix in your workout. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about some common deadlift faults. So some things to look at when you're performing the deadlift. I definitely recommend you film yourself so you can see what you look like and how your form is throughout the exercise. Very, very beneficial for bettering yourself. The first fault is going to be a rounded back. I think this happens when, one, you can either be going a little too heavy. So if you find that you're having a rounded back, to correct that, really focus on keeping your spine neutral. So go back to your basic cues and guidelines. You're going to brace your spine and get tight before you pull up the bar, and then maintain that position. Fault number 2 is lockout hyperextension. So it's where you're going too far back with your back, and this can happen from weak glutes or again just not getting your form down. So again, really film this one to see. I would probably film it from the side to see if you're overextending in your back. Fault number 3 is squatting the weight up. So funny, I actually don't even have to film this video today because I was filming how-to videos the other weekend, and when I went back to look at them, one of the videos I was squatting it up. I think I was so in my head about like trying to get everything perfect, and I know exactly what I did wrong. The bar was too far forward in front of me. When you squat the weight up, you're gonna feel it in your quads rather than where you should be feeling it in your hamstring and glutes. Again, for this one, go back to your basics. Really watch where the bar is at. Make sure it's placed over the middle of your foot. Keep it within an inch of your body throughout the whole movement, and then really feel if your hips are sandwiched in between your knees and your shoulders. So this will help that fault of squatting the weight up. That's all I have for you all today. It was a lot of information, hopefully good information. If you loved it, make sure that you like and subscribe so you never miss a video with me. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Have a good weekend. This hip, this side, left side, right side. Next up, next up is deadlift. Oh my gosh. Next we have to talk, our next subject are, oh my God. Deadlifts, deadlift, oh my God.